Devin, there was a time not long ago that you'd look at the Buffalo Bills schedule and you were having a hard time finding a loss, much less two. Like this, they're going to be the easy 1 seed. The road to the Super Bowl is going to go through Highmark Stadium in the last year of their current home. All the factors were pointing their way. It felt like they're going to get back to the Super Bowl. It's just a question of who they're going to play from the NFC. Look at it now. Coming out of the bye week, they got the Panthers in Carolina. Good luck with that. Can we see Josh Allen lose to Bryce Young, the guy who was benched and forgotten, the guy who will look like his little brother standing next to him, Bryce Young? It can happen because look at how the Panthers play. Hey, when you think about how you beat the Bills, the Panthers can do what the Falcons did last night. Devin, they got Rico Dowdle.
Yeah,
they can do it. They can do the exact same thing. And then the Chiefs, we know the issues between the Bills and the Chiefs. But look at the back half of the schedule. Like, all of a sudden, Buccaneers at the Texans on a short week, at the Steelers, at the Patriots, and then the Eagles. By the time the Eagles come to town week 17, who the hell knows what either team is going to be? That was like late season Super Bowl preview. It could be loser doesn't make the playoffs by the time it all happens. So it really is jarring to see the teams that were 1 and 2 in the power rankings a couple of weeks ago all of a sudden lost. And it makes it fun, but it makes it frustrating. But this is a wild roller coaster ride of a season. We're a third of the way in, and we have no idea where it's going to go. The only thing we know is the Jets suck. We don't know anything else.
I will say, I think Philadelphia and Buffalo are a little different.
I'll throw you an extra AFC East bone. The Dolphins suck too.
So basically it's lining up for the Patriots to be back. But that's a whole nother story. We won't dive too deep in that. I think I have plenty of time to talk about the Patriots as the season continues to roll on.
They're first place in the AFC East. They are back.
As soon as we were texting that last night, I thought of Bill Belichick in my ear. I mean, the rankings, like 4 games doesn't win us shit. I don't want to hear about it. Let's just keep playing football. So Patriots players, 4 games doesn't win you anything. Don't worry about where you're ranked in the standings. But I do think for Buffalo in the offseason, you go and you sign Larry Ogunjobi, you sign Michael Hoyt. They both get 6-game suspensions. You have both of those guys coming back for your defensive line, outside linebacker type roles. I think that helps. How healthy can Terrell Bernard? How healthy can he get? How can Matt Milano get healthy? How can you get Harrison, your first-round draft pick at corner? Can he get healthy and help you? Like, Buffalo has some guys on defense that they've been missing, and then the offensive guys that got hurt. Like, they need to get them back on the field and helping them, because I do think this whole team has been built with kind of, hey, we're light here. We went and got this player. All right, we added this player. We drafted this guy. And now all of a sudden they're not there. And I think we still believed in Josh Allen so much that they overcame that early in the season. But we were texting about it last night. When you actually break down what they've done so far, they didn't play that well against Baltimore to start the season. Baltimore dominated that game, up 15 points in the fourth quarter. Josh Allen makes unbelievable plays. They win. They pounded the Jets because you just said the Jets are the worst team. They don't play that particularly that well against the Saints, but Josh Allen makes enough plays. They win the game. And then the Dolphins, that's another game. All right, we don't really care about that. Then you lose to the Patriots and you lose to the Falcons. So you kind of sit back now and you're like, oh, man, like, what is really going on? Because Thursday night we watched Buffalo against the Dolphins and we thought they were so bad, the Dolphins could have won that game. So I think we're starting to realize, as great as Josh Allen is, he's not going to be able to continue to do this week after week and just keep grabbing and pulling this team along. At some point, they got to get healthy. They have to find the right guys on the field to start to help kind of get these wins. And it's going to start with that defense playing a lot better.
And Devin, I'm going to say it even more strongly than you did. Put the graphic back up, please. The teams that the Bills have beaten this year are combined 3-21. And the only convincing win came in week 2 against the Jets. They could have / should have lost to the Ravens. Okay, they had to pull a rabbit out of their butts to beat the Ravens. The Dolphins had them on the ropes. The Dolphins were driving late to tie the game. The Saints, and we didn't really notice this one because it wasn't prime time and it was in with the cluster of all the other games. We were down in Dallas on the smaller TVs getting ready for the Cowboys-Packers game. The Saints gave them everything they could handle. Winless at the time were the Saints. So it's possible, and I texted this last night I got so many different text threads. I'm sure you do too, but there's a specific thread just for this day of the week, Tuesdays with McCourty, a.k.a. Hit by a Truck Tuesday for me. Is it possible the Bills suck? And I said it jokingly, but I think we need to have the conversation as to whether or not the Bills are fugazi. Is it Josh Allen? And this is one of the points Chris Sims has been making, to the point where it has ruffled some feathers in Buffalo. Is it possible the talent cupboard in Buffalo isn't nearly as full as it needs to be? Is it possible it's Josh Allen, James Cook, and look, there are other quality players like Greg Rousseau and Ed Oliver, but collectively, like, where are the stars? Where are the highly talented players that can elevate this team to a championship? Because that's all they want in Buffalo. And I think that 4-0 start got people drunk, literally and figuratively, on the idea that this year is going to be the year. Man, it's a hell of a hangover after these last 2 games. You wake up today and you're a Bills fan and you're thinking, what were we thinking when we just assumed we're going to Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60?
Yeah, and I think some of the question marks too are, is the true talent at the positions of need? Like, when I look at their secondary, I think Christian Benford's a good player. I don't necessarily think he's elite. I don't think he's in that group with the top corners in the league. And then you go down because your first-round pick's not healthy. You have Tre'Davious White as an aging corner that I think would be really good in filling a role. I don't think he's your starting opposite corner. Then you look at the safeties. Taylor Rapp, Bishop, a young player, they haven't particularly played well. So now your secondary is just okay. And then you have a front led by Ed Oliver, and you bring in Joey Bosa. I wouldn't say your front is elite. And I always look at those two because I think in the NFL, you have to have rush and coverage. When you have both that are really good, you're elite. You have one of the best defenses in the NFL. When you have one that's elite and one that's just okay, you have a chance to still be a good defense. When you're just okay at both, you kind of see teams, they can pick their poison. They can come out in a game and they can run the football and they can dominate running the ball. Or they can come out and they can throw the ball and they can have a good day throwing the ball. And I think that's what the issue is a little bit for Buffalo, is that there's not these kind of key cornerstone players and positions that we walk away and we say, yep, because they have that guy there, it erases or covers up a multitude of maybe other things that they don't particularly do well. And I think I will give credit to them, though, until they're healthy, we can't really answer that question, because I think offensively they're built on guys filling certain roles. So Curtis Samuel's not like this elite household name, but what he gives them is this guy that can line up in the backfield. He can line up at receiver. He's dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's quick. He's fast. You take that out, all right, they don't have really another guy. Elijah Moore is supposed to kind of be like that, but he doesn't really do that. Dalton Kincaid is supposed to be the tight end that can go vertical, fast. You take that away. Now, all of a sudden, the way Joe Brady has game planned and went into games, he's missing 3-4 pieces in that puzzle. It makes it hard to get going. And the last thing I'll say is, if we notice, the Saints game is a game that really broke open this turnover issue now that has been kind of showing up for Buffalo, because they went out there and they got 2 turnovers in that game. The Saints did. Now all of a sudden, we had been talking about no interceptions, no turnovers for all these straight games. Now you see a couple turnovers against New England, more turnovers last night. When you have some deficiencies, one of the key things you can't do is you can't turn the ball over. And that creates a lot of pressure on Josh Allen to play perfect, but I think that's where they're at. For them to win, Josh Allen has to make unbelievable great plays, but he also has to make sure he doesn't turn the ball over. And that, I think, is hard to do when you're asking him to be as great as you're asking him to be.
When the Cowboys finally decided to trade Micah Parsons and you ended up with the Packers, one of the things I was saying is if the Bills and the Ravens are serious about getting to the top of the conference, they should have been at the front of the line to try to get him. Think of how different things might be in Buffalo if they had made a play for Micah Parsons, or Baltimore. Now, look, it's possible the defense in Baltimore is so abysmal that Micah Parsons wouldn't matter, but maybe that would have been the difference. For Buffalo, maybe he would have been the difference. Maybe it's that one guy that attracts so much attention that it makes it easier for the other guys to go out there and do their jobs. And when I think of do your job, Devin, Coach Belichick would be disappointed in much of what you just said as it relates to the injuries, because the Belichickian way, and I know it doesn't hit the same as it used to based upon the experience this far at North Carolina, but pre-2025, we don't want to hear any excuses for injuries. It's next man up, and you go out and you do your job to the best of your ability. You set the standard, and nobody's going to shed any tears for us that we don't have Dalton Kincaid, and then this guy's suspended and this guy's injured. And I feel like the Bills are going to lean into this because there's got to be an excuse. There's got to be an explanation for why they're not on track. And what you're saying is accurate, but it speaks to the lack of depth. It was easy for Belichick, especially in the first run, the first 3 Super Bowl wins. They had so much depth because they had so many guys who were starters that they weren't paying fair value to, frankly, that they were able to spend on the second stringer. So if the starter does get injured, you're plugging in a guy who'd be starting anywhere else. But that was the attitude. That was the mindset. And we always see a team that's able to overcome injuries. And I think that's one of the hidden strengths or weaknesses of a team. Who can overcome that critical mass of losing players that you need? Who does have the depth that we don't really know about because it's a 6th-round defensive back that we've never seen play, who was picked last year and has quietly developed? He either steps in and gets it done or he doesn't. And the Bills, I think the takeaway is the drop-off from starter to second string in Buffalo is maybe bigger than they need it to be.
But one of the keys is who gets hurt. Like in New England, we always had this next man up mentality. But what can get missed along those lines is if you break it down year by year. 2012, we lose Aqib Talib in the AFC Championship game, no Super Bowl. 2013, we lose Aqib Talib again in the AFC Championship game, no Super Bowl. 14, we lose Gerard Mayo, but we are able to get Akeem Ayers and Jonathan Casillas, guys that come in and replace, and we were able to make that happen. Again, no disrespect to any position, but sometimes you can hide a middle linebacker injury a little bit better because you can throw in multiple guys. 2015, we had multiple injuries, no Super Bowl. Other years, 2017, we lost Julian Edelman. We lost in the Super Bowl to the Eagles. So I don't think those necessarily defined and said that's the reason they lost. But I will say for Buffalo, for all of the injuries and suspensions, they're 4-2 as they get these guys back. Very similar, we talked about the Chiefs, now 3-3, getting Rashee Rice back. So it's all about where can you align yourself as you get healthy. And I think Buffalo, again, doesn't mean this is going to happen, but if I'm in Buffalo, I'm preaching, we just got to get healthy. We set ourselves up to be in a good situation. We're 4-2, but that doesn't guarantee us anything. We now need to figure out how we play better because the last 2 games, we're hurting ourselves. We're losing in close games, but we're turning the ball over. Like we're fumbling handoffs. Like 2 games in a row, we're fumbling a handoff that we probably practice over and over again on these speed, sweep, end around plays. So I do think they can find a way to make it work. Again, not every team's going to have supreme talent, but I think they need to play better at key positions. If Harrison, the rookie from Kentucky at corner, if he doesn't play well, you banked on him playing well at corner. Like, I don't think this team's good enough to use the different guys that they've brought up or developed, like you just said. I don't think they have that development at the cornerback position. Like, they let Elam go. He's in Dallas. He's still not playing well in Dallas. Like, there's different guys that they've tried to have in there that hasn't worked out that I think they need to find solutions. They need Milano and Bernard healthy because in the middle of their defense, they're not that good at safety either. So when you lose those linebackers and you're already not that good at safety, to me, that just exploits even more. So some of the positions, again, like I said, that they're hurt at are positions that they invested a lot in to make up for some of the other positions. And I think that's where we're starting to really see this defense and all of that go downhill.
Hey, one of the things that became clear on the Thursday night game against the Dolphins, just throw the ball to whoever's being covered by Tre'Davious White. He was on the side of the field last night when Bijan Robinson ran that wheel route and just cleared out. And frankly, if that's a slightly more accurate pass, he may still be running. So it's a great point by you. And it can change. You get a key guy back here or there, and it can change everything. But right now, yes, they're 4-2, but they got a lot of soul searching to do as the end of their bye week with a Panthers team coming up that is not nearly going to be the easy out that they thought it would be. Let's hear a little from both Sean McDermott and Josh Allen on the Bills' second straight primetime loss.
We got to figure it out. We got to dive deep into what we're doing, how we're doing it, making sure we got the right people in the right positions, and then the execution at the end of the day. So, but we got to start from ground zero and work our way back up.
It takes everyone. Little details matter. Mine wasn't good enough tonight, and we got to find ways. We had some God-given opportunities. The play at the end of the half, Taylor Rapp busting his butt to make a play there. The field goal block. We had our opportunities to, take advantage of, and we didn't.
Yeah, they just couldn't get the lawnmower started, and I think that was one of the reasons why Josh Allen looked perplexed at times. Like, what's going on here? Why can't we make this happen? Why can't I make this happen? Why can't I go out there and make that one play that changes everything? And I think it does confuse anyone associated with that team when Superman all of a sudden can't find his cape. And that's what it was last night.
Yeah, and I love what Josh tried to do there. He tried to bring up the bright spots that the defense and making a play. And I think when you're a player and you're in a game, especially when you've played with a bunch of the core guys for a while, and I think Buffalo now has that, you feel like, all right, this game is going a certain way, and there's going to be a key moment that happens. So right before the half, the game's kind of over. Like, Drake London scores right there. We're all sitting there like, whoa, like, what a half. Like, Buffalo's getting killed. This one's probably over. Oh, man, you go back, you watch, Taylor Rapp hustle. He does step out. Then you get the blocked field goal. You're like, all right, here's our moment. And I think those are deflating times because when those moments don't come through, you need another play. You need something else. And like you said earlier, you eventually run out of time. But again, I think kind of what they're saying and what McDermott said, like, we got to make sure we have the right guys in the right place. I think that's what they're trying to figure out. I remember in New England when we used to say the first 4 weeks of the season, you're trying to figure out who your team is. So when you don't have guys in there, and I think what's even harder for them is I look at Larry Ogunjobi and I look at Michael Hoyt. They've never been in there for them. So, like, as much as we're talking about these guys coming back, they still don't exactly know how these guys fit to their team. Like, you look at Rashee Rice coming back for Kansas City, they know what they're going to do with him. They know how to use him. Some of these guys coming back, like, they're not 100% sure where they're going to play him, how good they're going to be in their system. Like, they've gotten to see what Joey Bosa looks like in their system. I think Bosa will be better when they get more guys healthy because he won't have to play as many plays and he can have his exact role. But I think that's going to be the tricky part for Sean McDermott is even as guys start to get back, how much can you use guys that are getting back off injury? Do they have to be on a pitch count? And then these new guys, are they going to be ready to go? You're not used to having them and using them. So they have to figure those things out. And I think for Sean McDermott, like, this is why people consider him a good coach. One of the better coaches in the NFL is to figure these things out. And that challenge is definitely there. And I think, like you said, the Carolina Panthers and hearing what they had coming from their locker room, they're trying to see how they measure up against everybody else. So they're going to be hyped up going into that Buffalo game, because that's another game to test how good are we. Are these fluky games that we're catching good teams and they're just not ready to play? Or are we establishing a culture? And I think Dave Canales, if I'm him, he's going to be preaching that, because this team is slowly each year building, had some of these key wins that could ultimately turn the page for the Panthers.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.